Do you ever feel like annotating with a bunch of different color coordinated tabs and post-its and highlighters is a little overwhelming and it kind of disrupts the flow of your reading? Because I feel that way quite often, and I want to introduce you to maybe a more simple approach to annotating, a more minimalist approach to annotating that I hope helps you and doesn't disrupt your flow, because there are so many moments where I'm reading a book and I don't want it to disrupt my flow, but I don't want to forget a line or a passage that I really like and would like to reflect back to. So I'm going to tell you guys some techniques that I use to annotate minimally to not disrupt my flow of reading. And I really hope this helps, and I also think this would be great for beginners to annotating. I don't think it is a secret to anyone that I love annotating. I have made 2 videos prior to this one. My first one was from many years ago when I annotated War and Peace, and that was some aggressive annotating. I went through all of my different colored highlighters and tabs and post-its. I love that video still. I sometimes would like to really deeply annotate a book like that again. And then another video that I made more recently, which was I think 2 years ago, I made a video on how to annotate without actually damaging the pages of your books. If you don't like writing in your books or highlighting in your books, there is definitely ways where you can annotate without actually writing or damaging your pages. This video, I really want to highlight more of a simple approach to annotating. I definitely think there's a time and place for annotating a lot. I'm so glad that I deeply annotated War and Peace because I was taking so much time with that book, and I really felt like I was communicating with the book and with Leo Tolstoy. And I think that there really is a time and place for heavily annotating with a key and colors and different highlighters, and I think that that's fantastic. But for my everyday reading, I don't annotate like that, and I want to show you guys how I annotate every day. It's a much more simple approach that I think could benefit some of you if you are also kind of trying to get into annotating, or you're a little overwhelmed with all the different colors and everything. The 2 books that I'm going to be showing you as examples to how I annotate on a regular basis is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney and Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. The first suggestion I have for you, a lot of people might not agree with and a lot of people might have a problem with, and that is dog-earing your pages. I know, some of you might not like dog-earing your pages, so the alternative is you can put a tab on a page. You could see all of my dog ears. I even have them on the bottom of the page. So when I dog ear on the top of the page, that means the section I'm trying to highlight is on the top half of the book. If I tab on the bottom half, it means it's on the bottom half of the book. You don't have to do that. You could just tab wherever, however you want. But what the tabs mean is that something on that page has piqued my interest and that I want to refer back to. I don't even think I annotated this book with a pencil. I think I just dog-eared as I read. And my intention was to go back and look through all of my dog ears and maybe transfer some of the quotes or put in some pencil markings after the fact, after I finished reading it, but I never did that. So the simplest approach to annotating you could do is just simply dog-earing the pages like I did with this book. If there's something on the page that you want to take note of, just dog-ear the top of the page or the bottom of the page. If you don't want to dog-ear, then we have the beautiful invention of different colored tabs. So a lot of people, and myself included, will color coordinate their tabs. So certain colors will mean certain things. You can do that, or you can just pick one color that maybe matches the book. I always like matching my tabs to my books. But you could just pick one color, or you can use whatever color and they don't have to mean anything. If there's like a line or a passage, you could just tab that passage so that you can go right to it. There are certain books of mine that I would rather not dog-ear, that I will either tab or take a photo of, and I think it's just personal preference, so you do whatever you're comfortable with. With Kitchen, I dog-eared and I used a pencil. So this is kind of my second step, annotating a little step further. What I like doing to not disrupt my reading flow is do a quick bracket or do a quick star or do a quick underline. Oh, I also circle some words as well. So you can see I circled, I did a bracket, I starred and underlined. Doing this style of simple annotating just with a pencil and doing mainly brackets and few underlines and some stars, I feel like I can still do this and keep my reading flow, and I will be able to see more clearly instead of just dog-earing the top or bottom of the page. It's obviously much more clear to me which section I'm intending to draw my attention to. So sometimes dog-earing the page isn't enough and you want to go a step further, then I highly recommend using a pen or a pencil, whatever you prefer, and bracketing, underlining, starring, but in a way where you're not highlighting everything on the page. If it's one of those pages, you could just do a really big bracket in the margin. As you can see, I didn't use any tabs in these books as well. It's mainly just dog-earing and using a pencil. Something that I would like to do more of is taking what I underline and tab and putting it in a commonplace book. So this isn't technically a commonplace book, this is my reading journal, and commonplace books have really been quite popular lately. I am not an expert on commonplacing. I love journaling and I want to dabble more into commonplace books, so I'm not going to highlight too much of that in this video. I'm mainly just going to talk about my reading journal and transferring quotes to a journal, but there are so many videos on YouTube about commonplace books that I think could be really helpful if you don't want to disrupt your reading flow, but you want to then, once you finish the book, go back through it and maybe transfer those notes into a commonplace book. A commonplace book is a book that you mainly use to transfer thoughts and ideas that you find in other places, like articles or books or different things that people say maybe on the internet or in the newspaper or something. So I really think commonplace books are so useful and helpful, and I would like to kind of use my reading journal a bit more like a commonplace book as well. In this journal, I have written down my reading goals, I have written down the books that I have read and my star ratings. I have referred back to this book in a few of my videos. I also have my 2025 TBR, which is broken up into this page is my literary fiction books that I want to read this year, and then my classics that I want to read this year. And I think what I want to do is take about half of my journal and use the second half to transfer the different quotes and passages that I have highlighted throughout the many years of being a reader. I had this beautiful Paper Blanks journal that was Leo Tolstoy inspired, so Paper Blanks, the journal company. I also think this is a Paper Blanks book. Is it? Yes, it is! Oh, I love Paper Blanks so much. The paper quality is amazing. If you're looking for a reading journal, I cannot recommend the Paper Blanks journals enough. It also has a little folder right here in the back, so you can keep stuff in there. I think letting a story affect you, and when you read it, being uninterrupted by annotating or deeply annotating, you can let the story kind of flow over you, and then being able to go back and reflect on it and look through it can sometimes reinforce it in your brain because you have the whole story now in your mind and in your heart, and you'll be able to appreciate it and take your time with it in a different way, where if you're annotating while you read it, it can be a little bit more, just a bit more of an interruption, I guess, into your reading flow, which is my whole point of this video. Anyway, my point was that I had this beautiful Paper Blanks book that was Leo Tolstoy, like it had Leo Tolstoy's handwriting on it. It's absolutely beautiful. And I started using it for all of my Leo Tolstoy writing, like all of my Leo Tolstoy reading, I should say, and I was writing a bunch of different quotes from Tolstoy's books because he's one of my favorite authors. So I wanted to dedicate that journal just to my reading of Leo Tolstoy's books. So that's something that you could also do as well, or you could keep one tiny notebook for all the books that you read. You could maybe pick a notebook for one specific author if you love a certain author and you want to dedicate one notebook to that author. Then I really think Annotating minimally and then reflecting back on those annotations and transferring them into a journal could be really helpful and could be a way to deeply analyze a book without disrupting that flow that I've been talking about. Finally, I just want to quickly touch on supplies. Again, for this simple approach to annotating, all you really need is a pencil or a pen. You don't have to go crazy with tabs and post-its and different colored pens and highlighters. That's not my intention for this video. If you want to do that, you absolutely can, but I really recommend for everyday annotating, I just use a pencil, sometimes a pen. I usually use an HB or a 2B pencil just because they're not too hard or soft on the paper. That's just a random recommendation or suggestion. This is a Muji pen. If you do want to take it a step further, like I said before, you can use different sticky tabs. I also just want to show you my annotation pouch because I have been using this thing for so many years and I deeply love it. I got this, like I said, years ago. It's this adorable Kate Spade pouch that is genuinely the perfect size. It's so well made. I love being able to be reading my book and carrying around a little annotation pouch. Sometimes if I do want to highlight or star something in a different color, I have a bunch of different types of highlighters in here. This is just the Sharpie brand. These are the mild liner from the Zebra brand, which I really love. Staedtler is a wonderful art company and they make different colored fine tip pens as well. I have more tabs in here. I also have these bigger tabs, and you can go crazy with annotating. You can do whatever you want. That's the fun part about annotating. What I really appreciate about annotating is how simple it can be and how minimal it can be, but also how maximal it can be and how fun and exciting to color coordinate and use a bunch of different supplies. So I just wanted to show you, this is a red pen from Pentel. I just love using my pencil case, even if I only take out a pencil in here or maybe a tab, if you want to go quite minimal with your annotating, or just having the option to sort of, depending on how you're feeling about the book. Sometimes when I'm reading a book and I begin it, I think, I'll just annotate this quite minimally. But then I'm, a quarter of the way through or halfway through and I'm loving it and I really want to deeply annotate it, and I can have all the supplies at the ready to annotate it however I wish. So I do suggest having a little annotation pouch, but it's not a necessity. The only necessity, if you do, well, you don't even need a pencil. That's what I'm saying. Like, you could just dog your pages, or, like I said, use a tab, but you don't have to go crazy buying a bunch of supplies, buying a pencil case. You can do whatever you want to do, and that's the fun part. So I just recommend doing whatever feels right for you. Alright, I think that's everything I wanted to say. I really hope this video was helpful and gave you more of an insight into how to annotate simply, more minimally, and an insight into how I annotate on a daily basis, which will hopefully not disrupt your reading flow. So I would love to know if you have any suggestions or recommendations for simply annotating as well. So I would love to hear what you think of what I said, and if you have your own recommendations and suggestions, I would love to hear from you in the comments. And I hope that this video, like I said, was helpful. That's my main goal of why I wanted to make this video. So I would love to hear how you annotate, how you feel about annotating, and yes, I hope you're having a fantastic day, reading some amazing, amazing books, and I will see you soon in another video. As always, happy reading.